Greetings, thank you for joining me today. This one is for any Jeremy Clarkson's Farm fans out there. So today we've got some Clarkson's Farm meat to review, notably bacon and sausages. So yeah, we had our second visit to the farm this week and it was absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. We bought lots of food while we were there. The crisps, locally made crisps, fantastic. Locally made honeycomb covered in chocolate, awesome. Scotch eggs and a few other things, but we scoffed most of it before we came home, or ice cream as well, but left us with the meat, the bacon and the sausages. So enjoy. This is a review of those products. So we've got some meats. We've got Jeremy Clarkson's smoked back bacon, which is, what have we got, £4.30 for a pound of bacon. Now, if you're a connoisseur of the bacon, you can see the marbling tells all, and the quality of the fat on there tells all. That is a fine pack of meat there. We'll see how that goes. And Jeremy's Hawkstone lager pork sausages. There they are. That was £3.80 for this pack, which compares quite well to the higher end shop bought sausages. Now, of course, we see on the telly, we see on his Clarkson's Farm show how well the animals are treated. So you know this is reflected in the meat. Now, we also see that meat in other products. We've had the Scotch eggs they sell in the farm shop, absolutely epic. Yeah, not like your supermarket Scotch eggs. They are just beautiful. So anyway, let's see how the sausage goes. We'll throw it on the grill and see how it goes, shall we? See how it tastes. So I'm going to fire the grill up to number 1. It's our George Foreman, of course, George Foreman grill. I'm going to have the flat plate here, fire it up to number 1 and slowly cook one of these lovely sausages. This is the sort of thing that brings the cats out from hiding under the counters. A good quality sausage on the grill. So 1 or 2. I need a sandwich. It's been a long day of travelling. We went to London today, which was epic. Had some very good food. There we go, let's see how they go. Now, I normally cook my sausages either without oil like this or with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. We'll see how we go with this, see if it needs the oil. Crank it up to number 2. Give it a little puddle of oil. That helps the cooking process along a bit. Now they smell nice and fresh. Simple. You know, it's all you ask from good food. Simple flavours. That's your traditional sausage casing, i.e. animal sausage casing, much better than the plastic sort. Might as well make good use of the grill, make it toasty, which will go nicely with the sausages. Yeah, it's flat cheese, or some would call it American cheese. Don't hate. I use normal cheese as well. I like this small Caribbean bread because it's not too much bigger than a slice of cheese. You can make a tiny sandwich. Can't beat the taste of bacon and olive oil on a toasty. Toasting up nicely. Bit of sumac to bring out the flavour in the toasty, not on the sausages. They'll have to fend for themselves. Oh, you will be turned. Yes, you will. Okay. Little pink Himalayan salts, very good for you. Certainly better than regular salt. All those lovely minerals. You can see all that good fat bubbling away. Nice. Moving the sandwich down to catch all that lovely grease. say that's about done. Let's give them a try. Okay, let's try this unsalted. Unsalted, untreated, just a nice chunk of sausage. You can taste it's a high meat content sausage, that is, nice and dense. Good salt balance. You can taste the lager in the background there. It's got a nice sweetness. The pork is gamey and awesome and delicious. Perfect. I guess it's a good quality meat. You can also taste the olive oil that it's cooked in as well, which is no bad thing, so that brings a certain green taste to the whole thing. Absolutely perfect. Recommended, highly recommended. If you ever get the chance, go visit. Now onto the bacon. Now there are two sorts of bacon you can get, really. There's the dry cured, which is the one I prefer, and I will always buy the dry cured if it's available, because it doesn't have water pumped into it. Fundamentally, that's the difference. Or there's the one with water pumped into it. Now you find the water infused bacons on the cheaper side of the market, and it's done to obviously make the most of the meat available. Now, it's all very well, but when you start to cook them, they do tend to wither away to practically nothing. And you think, well, isn't it just making for a pack that's swole up? Makes me think I'm getting a lot, when actually I'm getting, well, it says 95% pork, but you might be forgiven for feeling that was somewhat inaccurate. I don't know, we'll see. So it's 95% pork with added water, salt, preservatives, yada yada yada. Yeah, so let's see. Now I tend to cook these not on the hot plate because it takes ages and I've got no patience. I throw them in a tray like this and pop them in the oven and forget about them for a good 10, 15, 20 minutes. That usually does the trick, and if I've taken the time to chop it into chunks first of all, I find then I've got nice little bits of bacon which you can throw in the kids' lunchbox for school, and it's perfect. Let's turn it around and let's get on with that, shall we? So I'm prepared in advance with, of course, the bacon, scissors, chopping knife and chopping board. This table, by the way, is designed as a great big chopping board. It's just I don't want to get it scored up too early in its lifespan. Need to cut more. It feels wet compared to some of the bacons I've handled more recently. It isn't a deal breaker, but still, it means I've got to have the pack open completely in order to get a single sheet out, which I don't appreciate, because once you get it out of the packet, you kind of expose it to the air and it's falling apart. Oh dear. Okay, not to worry. Rest assured this is going to be cooked within a couple of days anyway, so we should be okay. Now, again, I do say it does have the marbling. You can see it's quite decent. Not too fatty. I'm just going to push that forward. Just going to chop this. Cuts nice and easily. And you should hear typical sticky mess that bacon gets to be. Obviously I'll be cleaning the area thoroughly when I've done with this chopping, because we're dealing with raw meat. Oh, and it's thinner sliced than I thought it was. Let's get in there and pull it apart. Marvellous. Good job I noticed that before I started cooking it, because that means it'll probably cook better, quicker. Pop that down for a second. Lovely. Some people can't deal with meat that's too wet. I mean, you've got to accept it for what it is, of course. There we go. Now I could cram more in the tray, but I'm not going to this time. Let's give it 20 minutes and see how it comes out. Okay, so I was going to jump in at this point and tell you a lovely story of how well that bacon came out after a dose of 20 minutes or so in the Aga. Except it didn't happen that way. Of course, because it's fluid injected meat, when the water had started to evaporate, the meat kind of lost its form. There was still the fat there, but of course the fat just runs off, and what you're left with is a pretty dry, disappointing piece of bacon. I like the dry cured because you get more meat for your money. You do, and it's better for you. When you inject water and God knows what else into a meat, then you're really plumping a bad product. That's what it is. And if you start with good meat, it doesn't make it better by adding water. It devalues the whole product. That's just my take on it. So I was going to show you the meat as it was, and hopefully show you something pretty, but it wasn't pretty. So I decided to scrape the remnants, the congealed remnants of the pan, shove that in a bucket of boiling water with some corn on the cob that I'm cooking, but that doesn't really show you what goes on there. It makes the corn taste nice, at least, so it's not a solid loss. But so what I'm going to do now is use the rest of that soggy pack and try and cook that on the George Foreman to see if I can make something of it. See if I can make those things cook, those rashers cook in a way that they don't shrivel up to nothing. Let's see if we can do it. Some nice fat rashers out of that packet finally, and they're cooking well on the George Foreman here. Yeah, quite a lot of steam visible, but I don't think the camera properly does it justice. There is far more in the room than you can properly pick up on the image. In spite of the injected water, there is still more than enough meat to keep things sensible here, to keep the rashers intact. Maybe it was just an issue with the first couple of rashers in the pack being cut a little too thin. I don't know. I'll cut back in when it's cooked. Let me just show you how the corn came out. I've got some nice cheap corn on the cob from the Aldi the other day. Decent price on those. And I put the bacon in the water. The best way to work with an Aga is to boil the water in a kettle, frankly, and pour it in. And then I just added the bacon scraped off the tray. It adds a salt content and allows the corn to cook properly and adds a little flavour. I'll tell you later how that came out. I'm going to let it sit for a bit, cool down a tad. Nearly there as far as I'm concerned. I know some people like their bacon to be barely cooked at all, and some people like it to be virtually carbon. I'm one of the in-between sort. I will like it to be cooked well enough to bring out the caramelised nature, when the sugars in the meat start to turn into that kind of golden crust. Yeah, it needs a few more minutes, maybe a couple more flips, but it will soon be there, and I'll be able to taste it. Lovely. As you can see, when you boil off all that water, what are you left with? Now, this is the bacony mess that's left on the stove after all the cooking. This will congeal when it's allowed to cool. and the cats will deal with it. Now, if you don't have handy pets to come along and remove all the grease, you don't want to be flushing this into the drains, because of course it does clog the drains and creates fatbergs and all sorts of things in the sewer network. We don't want that to happen. It is a pretty messy business, and when you add more water, more nitrates to a meat, you end up with more of this nonsense, and you've got to wonder, is it good for your health? Probably not. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, I know, I mentioned health and bacon in the same sentence, but still, here's how it came out. It looks quite nice, I think. Plated up nicely. It's just cooling. Not too crunchy, because my poor old teeth, or my remnants of teeth, can't really handle that. So let's to the tasting then, shall we? So after all is cooked and all that water's cooked off, you're left with quite a small rasher of bacon, but it packs the punch, I'm sure. It feels nice. It's not too fatty when all's said and done, which is nice. Now, the marbling of the meat, the distribution of fat through the meat, means that when it cooks and remains moist and adds more flavour to the meat overall. You're not just left with a tough piece of gristly protein, which is nice. If you put this in a sandwich, which I'm guessing most people will, it'll be absolutely excellent, and it just crumbles. It's beautiful. Now, could it be better? Sure. We can all pick faults in a product that's honestly delivered. Could it be better? I'm sure it could. But from a layman's point of view, just as someone who consumes the meat but doesn't worry too much about the science behind bacon making, honestly, it's very good. I do find the salt content to be slightly higher than I like. I have had a range of bacon from a range of different suppliers, and some are less salty than others. I do prefer the dry cured because they tend to be less salty overall. Maybe that's my perception, I don't know. If you've got any thoughts, comments, do let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me today. Do appreciate your time. Whatever you do, have a great day. See you soon, and bye for now.